Well, hello there, everyone. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and we're about to get started right here on the floor for today's yin yoga practice. We're going to get lots of stretches into our hips in multiple directions. We're going to stretch out the glutes a bit, hamstrings, side body, and also give some love to the upper body back. So have a strap nearby, have at least one block nearby, and meet me on the floor for child's pose. I'll see you there in just a second. Yay. All right, making your way into child's pose. We're going to hang out here for just about 2 minutes from right now. If you want to place a block under your head, you're welcome to. You can have your knees open as wide as you want. You can already get a big stretch into your shoulders, stretching your arms forward. And if that feels like too much, take as generous of a bend as you want. Come into your breath. Start to slow your breath down, especially your exhale. And as we're hinging forward from the hips with bellies facing down towards the floor, use your big inhales to create some space in your upper back body ribs. As you're starting to quiet your mind here, in addition to your breath, begin to scan your body and notice how you're feeling and where you're feeling. What might feel a little bit more tight or tense today? And where might you feel a little bit more open? Without judgment or expectation, just noticing how and where you're feeling today. And with that said, now is a beautiful time to set an intention for today's practice. Maybe focusing on a positive affirmation, sending some extra love to yourself, or putting it out there in the world for someone else that you think might want or need it. But I encourage you to also think of kind thoughts to you. My current positive affirmation is I am worthy and I am worth it. All right, let's change the stretch. If you have a bend in your arms, start to stretch your arms forward. Bring your eye gaze forward. Slink your whole self forward. Walk your legs back, coming into Sphinx. So elbows ideally are underneath of your armpits, pressing your lower belly down into the mat. So it's a press of your elbows into the floor, but not just down into the floor. Can you also pull your elbows back towards your hips? We're here for just a couple breaths as is. So chest is lifted, but you can take a tuck of your chin to your chest for an even deeper stretch if that feels right. See what it feels like to press the tops of the feet into the floor to really squeeze your glutes. See what it feels like to relax your glutes. I like having my glutes squeezed. It's going to be a little less pressure on the low back. And let's turn, twist, look over your left shoulder. Eye gaze can be down towards the floor, still pressing elbows into your mat space. On your next inhale, bring your eye gaze back forward. And on your exhale, turn, twist, look over your opposite shoulder. As you change your breath, come back through to center. Relax yourself down onto your mat. Make a pillow with your hands. Place your forehead on your pillow. Bend your knees and slowly windshield wipe your legs right and left, right and left. Relieve any tension in your low back. And then when you're ready, relax your feet back down to the floor. Bring your hands close by your chest. Press yourself up and come into tabletop. While you're there, start doing some cat-cows. And while you're doing those cat-cows, I'm going to tuck my shirt in because I forgot to. Great. Still focusing on your nice, slow, relaxed breath. Feel free to take some non-traditional movement during these cat cows. So if you want to shake or shimmy through your shoulders, if you want to make some big circles with your hips or with your rib cage. If you try something in one direction, give it a try in the opposite direction. We're about halfway through this little cat cow self-assessment movement break. Start to finish up whatever you're doing, come back into your neutral tabletop. Hands, palms underneath of your chest, hips on top of your knees. Keep your left hand down on the floor. Inhale your right arm all the way up towards the sky. Keep stretching it up towards the ceiling. Create a little separation of your shoulders. Notice if you are maybe sinking into your arm on the floor. And imagine that your right shoulder blade is touching an imaginary wall behind you. So big lift and reach. One more inhale. And on your exhale, you're going to weave your right arm underneath of your body. Palm facing up, reach your right hand all the way to the other side of the room. You can keep your left hand right here by your chest to stay supported in this stretch, or you can start to walk your left hand forward. Ooh. If you're like me, walking your left hand forward, creating more of a stretch in your tricep, into your shoulder, even in the bicep. You might start to feel a little shaking or trembling in your arm. That's okay. Come back to your breath, to your relaxation. If you want even more of the stretch, turn your mouth, turn your chin to the mat towel, maybe even lifting your hips up a little bit higher. Let's spend one more minute right here. If you turn your chin down to your mat towel, bring your temple back to the floor. Start to walk your left hand towards your chest. If you extended it, push into your left hand, root to rise all the way up. Right arm stretches up towards the ceiling. Press your shoulder blade against the imaginary wall behind you. Really reach, touch, and then exhale, right hand comes down to the floor. Give yourself a cat, give yourself a cow. Find your neutral tabletop once you've gotten one of each. Push into your right hand palm. Slowly, gently start to rise your left arm up towards the ceiling. Push into your left hand. Push into your right hand. Stretch your left arm up towards the ceiling. Relax shoulders away from your ears. And then exhale, thread the needle. Bring your left hand underneath of your body. Really reach towards the opposite wall with your left hand fingertips as much as possible. You can stay right here with your temple on the floor, shoulder on the mat, hand palm close to your chest, or you can start to walk your right hand fingers away from you. Maybe you even sink your glutes back towards your heels to enjoy the stretch here. Option to intensify the stretch a little more towards the end, bringing your chin to the mat towel, maybe lifting your hips up a little bit higher. We've got about 1 minute to go. If you brought your chin or mouth to your mat towel, bring your temple back to the floor. If you extended your right arm, walk your right hand back in, press into it, lift yourself up, stretch your left hand all the way up towards the sky. Reach, 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 reach. Find that squeeze of your shoulders, make space for your neck. And then exhale, left hand down to the floor. We're going to use our strap next. I'm going to turn sideways just in case you need to look. Okay, so your strap is nearby. We're not using it quite yet. From here in tabletop, extend your right foot out towards the side. Bring your toe down and then work to bring your heel down in line with your toe. Start to press the outer edge of your right foot into the mat. We're going to be here for one more minute. You can stay lifted on your hands palms with your arms straight. If it feels good, you can even release yourself down to your forearms. And we're focusing on the large stretch that we're creating on your inner thigh. Think about what's happening with your ankle. It might be trying to turn in towards your body, but really work to press the outer edge of your foot to the floor, foot parallel with your body. Are you creating a lot of rounding in your shoulders, especially if you brought your elbows to the floor? Can you create some length in your spine here? Keep your breath nice and slow. If you lowered yourself down to the floor, start to lift yourself up. Keep your strap nearby. We're going to lift our chest up. Oh, I got my head off. It's okay. Great. Use your strap. Hands about shoulder width distance apart, maybe a little bit wider, still pressing in the outer edge of your right foot. Inhale, arms up overhead. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Shoulders roll down and back, little engagement of your glutes. Hips are gently pressed forward, and then reach over to the right side. We're here for just a couple of breaths. Make sure that your chest is not collapsing down towards the floor. So you're once again pressing your left shoulder blade against the imaginary wall behind you, and you can apply as much pressure on separating the strap here as feels good. We've got about 2 more breaths at the length I think normal people breathe. On your next inhale, lift yourself up. You can release the strap from your right hand. This time, left hand comes down towards the floor. Work to stack your shoulders. You can keep your right foot on the floor or inhale, lift your right leg up. We're just here for a couple of breaths. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Now, right shoulder is pressing against the imaginary wall behind you. Keep your head in line with your spine. One more inhale here. On your exhale, release your right foot down to the floor. Right hand comes next to your left. And then slowly, side by side or one hand over the other, walk your hands back through into tabletop. Bring your right leg in to meet with your left. Give yourself a cat. Give yourself a cow. Find your neutral tabletop again. I'm going to scooch over to the other side so I have some space. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So this time, left foot comes out. Bring your big toe down to the floor. Release your heel down. Try and get your uh, foot parallel with your spine. Pressing the outer edge of that left foot down into the floor. Notice if you're sinking into your shoulders. Find the lift. And remember, this is yin. So we're working to create stillness. So find where you can be for today, even if you barely move. Better to just breathe and meditate in the moment, in this breath, and take things one breath at a time. Also, yeah, if you wanted to lower yourself down to the floor, you're welcome to lower yourself down to the floor. Couple breaths left here. But better to find stillness wherever you are today, as opposed to coming in and out and in and out. Because eventually, in the future, with time, that flexibility will increase. That being said, if you came into a stretch and it becomes painful, that's a good time to ease your way out. All right. Press yourself up, grab hold of your strap, press into your right knee, lift yourself up, squeeze your glutes, hips gently come forward, shoulders roll down and back, inhale, arms up overhead. Taking our reach this time to the left side of the body. Take a moment. As you get here, make sure that your chest is not collapsing down towards the floor. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, really separate your hands, a little extra activation of your upper back, right shoulder pressing against an imaginary wall behind you. We're more than halfway through. On your inhale, lift yourself up. Release the strap from your left hand. Right hand releases down to the floor. Stretch your left arm up towards the sky. You can keep your left foot down on the floor or inhale your left leg up. Just a couple breaths here, just like last time, but a whole new side of the body. So no judgment, no expectation. On your exhale, release your left foot back down towards the floor. Press into the outer edge. Release your left hand down to the floor. Walk your hands back through to center. Bring your left leg back into tabletop. One cat, one cow, neutral tabletop. We're going to make our way into Sukhasana, comfortable seated position. You can get there any way you want. I'm going to cross my ankles, walk my knees up just a little, and then sit down. Awesome. If you came into a seated position and your knees are coming all the way up towards your chest, I recommend that you sit on your block right now. Otherwise, whatever you're sitting on, whether it's the floor or the block, feel free to use your hands on your knees, ground through your sit bones, create some length in your spine. Start a scan of your body from head to toe. Really check out how you're sitting now. Are you rounding through your back at all? Are you leaning back? Are you leaning forward? Can you stack your head over your heart, over your hips? And feel free to use your hands to help you find the length there. Allow your shoulders to be down and back, your elbows to be heavy towards the floor. Just a couple breaths left in this upright seated position. Pulling your belly in is going to help your back feel good while we're sitting up. All right, a little relaxation before we move on. So hands on your knees, bring some rounding to your back, chin tucks towards your chest, a little seated cat. And then keep your sit bones on the floor, pull yourself forward as much as you can. A little seated cow. One more time, each direction, nice and slow. Awesome. Go ahead, kick your right leg out. We're coming into half dragonfly. You might want your strap, so keep that nearby. Awesome. Great. Starting off with a half dragonfly, left leg is folded in, right leg is extended out. You can create as much of a stretch in your right leg as you really want, depending on what's happening with your toes. If your toes are falling away, you're going to feel it a little bit less on the back of the leg. As your toes flex towards your face and you really ground through your sit bones, you're going to feel more of a stretch towards the inner thigh, towards the hamstring. You can keep your hands behind you if you need to, or you can start to bring your hands forward. Maybe you still stay really lifted, sit bones on the floor no matter where you are, hands forward or on a block. And if you want, you can start to relax yourself down. Just a couple breaths left here before we change the stretch. Okay. Making sure your sit bones stay on the floor. Start to walk your hands over to your right leg. You can have one hand on each side. Maybe you're even reaching towards your right foot with your left hand for an even deeper stretch from your hip through your shoulder into your lats. And if you can't reach your foot, maybe use your strap to help you relax a little bit. We're here for let's do another minute from right. All right. If you're holding onto your strap or your foot, carefully release, walk yourself up, kick both legs out, taking a couple breaths in full dragonfly. Once again, option to see how it feels. Flexing your toes back towards your face, really working to get your sit bones on the floor, maybe allowing toes to fall away from the center line. You might need your hands behind you for some support if you're feeling really tight. If you're not feeling anything, bring your hands in front of you, come back to your breath, create a noticeable stretch. We're here like this for 1 minute. Keep scanning your body from head to toe, not asking you to go any deeper in your stretch, just asking you to evaluate where you might be able to relax. Where's there extra unneeded tension? If you have your hands in front of you, if you're in any sort of a forward hinge or fold, walk your hands back in. Let's take a moment, bring your legs together, bob your knees, windshield wipe your feet, shake out your shoulders, maybe even pressing into your hands, giving yourself a nice supported back bend. Eye gaze can stretch up and towards the back of the room. And then chin back to your chest. We're coming into the other side, half dragonfly. So this time, left leg folds out, right leg comes in. No judgment, no expectations, doesn't need to look anything like the other side of half dragonfly did. We got 1 minute where we're either lifted here or gently folding forwards, but work to get both of your sit bones on the floor. Okay, start to walk your hands over to your left leg. You can fold forward as much as feels good. You can draw that right shoulder forward. You can reach for your toes with your right hand. You can use your strap. Remember, things do not need to look the same on one side versus the other. Maybe you could really easily reach your foot with one hand on one side. It's okay if you cannot do the same on the other side. We got 1 minute left right here. Carefully release any bind that you might have of your left leg. Lift yourself up, walk yourself back to center, send your right leg long, bring your left leg to meet it. One more time, bob your knees, windshield wipe your feet. Hands can come behind you. Take that supported back bend, lifting your chin, lifting your chest, squeezing your shoulder blades together. And then chin back to neutral. Hold your feet in. We're coming into butterfly. Um, you might need to walk your glutes back for a second to get that hinge from your hips. If your shoulders and your knees are really close to each other, bring your block to the party. Place your block under your legs, however you might need it. Or option to interlace your fingers underneath of your toes, taking a little bit of a pull to get more of an opening of your hips. You can stay lifted or you can lower yourself down. Sit bones stay on the floor. 1 minute to go. And if you're not using your blocks under your legs, feel free to maybe place them under your head. Find some relaxation here, however you can. It's so good to practice being comfortable and finding your breath in situations where you are uncomfortable because they come up. I like to think of yin yoga as being a giant game of red light, green light. So we have an opportunity to move, and then it's like we're playing freeze tag. On your inhale, lift yourself up once again. We're coming into deer pose next. So let's keep the left leg folded in as it is, and we're going to take the right leg and create a 90-degree angle. Your left sole of the foot might touch your right thigh bicep. It might not. You're aiming to get the inner arch of the foot towards the floor. That might be really tough on your exterior hip. So if you need to turn your laces down, fold your foot in, it's going to bring the stretch more to the quad. Take a moment to even just shift the weight a little side to side. And then challenge minute, we're going to turn towards our back heel. You can have your hands on the floor. You can have your hands on a block. Try and lift your chest here. We're working to try and get that back right glute on the floor. You're going to feel more of a stretch in the exterior hip, where we're only here for a couple more breaths. So you can do it. Even if it seems like you barely twisted, just find what you can for today and relax your shoulders. Find length in the crown of your head, grounding through at least one of the sit bones, aiming for two. Awesome. Now, inhale, find some lifted length. Exhale, we're going to turn, twist towards the left leg. Right glute can gently come off of the floor a little bit. Press your inner thigh, the inner right thigh, more towards the mat. Draw right shoulder forward. And if you want, you can even lower yourself down onto your block, onto the mat. We got 1 minute right here. If you lowered yourself down, carefully start to lift yourself up. We're going to keep the right leg bent. If your right leg is still extended out with the inner arch of the foot on the floor, bring it in. Place the top of the laces on the floor. Extend your left leg long in front of you for half hero pose. Your knee can be out wide. You might even need to move your calf muscle a little to the side and then bring your leg back in. For extra stretch, see if you can bring your knees a little closer together. Hands can stay behind you if this is already too intense. Ready for more? Fold forward. Need some support? Bring your strap. Loop it around your foot. Work to get that right glute on the floor. If your right glute is nowhere near the floor, do not lean forward. Just work to apply some gravity to glute towards the floor. We got a couple breaths. Left, right here. Remember, find your stillness. Stillness as opposed to going in and out of the stretch. One more cycle of breath. If you're folded forward on your inhale, lift yourself up, extend your right leg long to meet with the left. Take a moment, fingers right by your hips, lift yourself up, chest is tall and proud, shoulder blades squeeze together, toes flex back towards your face in staff pose. One more breath. And then move your hands behind you, bend your knees, windshield wipe your feet right and left, right and left. Let's come into that other side of half hero pose. Oh, wait, still need to do deer pose. Okay, great. So open your feet nice and wide, easy way to get into it. Feet open nice and wide. And then we're going to drop our knees this time over to the right. Can you still have that 90-degree angle with both of your legs? Can you get the inner arch of your foot towards the floor? Take a moment, shift the weight, bring weight to your left glute on the floor. And then we're going to turn, twist, look towards the left heel. Still working to press that left glute down. If this is too much in your hip flexor, start to fold your foot in, place the top of the foot into the floor as opposed to the arch of the foot on the floor. Couple breaths left. What can you do? Where can you be without moving? Use your next inhale, find some lifted length. Exhale, turn, twist towards your right leg. You can release yourself down towards the floor. You can gently roll a little off of that left glute. Remember, you still have the option as needed to fold your left leg in, more of a stretch on your quad. So just find what works for you. We got 1 minute left to go right here. On your inhale, lift yourself up if you folded forward. If this back left leg is still at arch of the foot towards the floor, A, start to sink your glute back down. And B, fold that foot in so that you're making like a half bowl with your foot for your glute. Your knee can be out nice and wide, and this time we're going to extend right leg forward. If you want more of that challenge, work to bring your two knees together. Keep your sit bones on the floor. So maybe you just have shoulders stacked right here on top of hips. Maybe hands are even behind you, working to find some support. We are breaking down scar tissue right now in your ankles. We're doing a little bit of cutting off the circulation. You can hinge forward if you want. Remember, you can use your strap if you want. I'm just going to take this little hinge. We got about 1 minute to go. And then get to lay down on our back. So we're so close. If you're hinged forward at all or using your strap, start to release your strap. Inhale, lift yourself up. Bring your left leg long to meet with your right and go ahead, lay down on your back. Keep your block nearby. Just taking a moment here in our Savasana before we move on to allow the blood flow to return to normal, since we did just cut off a little bit of the circulation in your left foot. Okay, bend your knees, soles of the feet down on the floor. Let's really get a stretch in the front of the hip flexors here at the end. Go ahead, once your feet are firmly planted, use your inhale, press into them, lift up your back, and place your block at your low back for a nice supported glute bridge. Glutes are hanging just over the other edge of your block, a little self myofascial release, a nice little stretch into your lower abs as well. You can walk or wiggle your feet further away from the center line to really increase the stretch that you're feeling on the low belly hips. Once you found a place to firmly plant your feet, options even bring your arms up overhead, maybe hold your hand or a nice little goalpost arms. We got just over a minute right here. If you brought your arms up overhead, return your arms down by your side. If you walked your feet further away, go ahead and start to walk your feet in. Keeping your back on your block, draw your knees to your chest. And then go ahead, extend your legs all the way up towards the sky. Legs up the imaginary wall, a little bit of support, little encouraged lymphatic draining to the heart. Carefully bring your knees back to your chest, and then maybe one foot at a time, release the soles of the feet back down to the floor once they're firmly planted. Use your inhale, lift yourself up one vertebrae at a time, melt your back down to the mat. You can keep your knees bent if you want, maybe tensing your knees towards each other, or go ahead, extend your legs long, coming into our final savasana here. Feel free to shake, shimmy for a moment, side to side. Get as much of your back firmly planted on your mat as you can. Keep the back of the head down on the floor too. So notice if you're jutting your chin up towards the ceiling, bringing some stress into your neck, and gently tuck your chin in. Move down your body 1 inch at a time every exhale. Maybe you can relax a little bit more into your space, into your breath, into this moment. We'll close out class down here on the floor in final savasana, because that's all the time that we have left together for today. But I hope you'll stay here in this savasana for a little bit longer. How many breaths can you commit to finishing before you get up and turn off this video? No matter what starts playing next, can you just stay tuned into yourself? Take this time to come back to your positive affirmation if you had one today. Until we are together again, I hope that you'll take time every day to think good thoughts, speak good words to yourself, to others, eat good foods, do good deeds, and take the time to nourish yourself from the inside out. Because if no one has told you today, you are worth it, you are worthy, and you're special just the way you are. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing in today's practice and putting some good energy into yourself and out there as well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.